Hello everyone, my name is AZZATRU, how are you, and welcome to another Star Wars Battlefront 2 video of mine. And in this video, I am going to be talking about what emotes and victory poses I think we will get for Anakin and Count Dooku when they do release into Star Wars Battlefront 2 later this year. About a week ago, I made a video talking about the emotes and victory poses for Obi-Wan and General Grievous because Ben, the community manager, put out asking for our input on what voice lines we'd like to see in the game for both of those characters. If you didn't see that video, there'll be a link at the end of the video to check that out, but basically I was thinking, well, we're probably going to get the same request from Ben for Dooku and Anakin later this summer. It would make perfect sense. So let's talk about what victory poses and emotes anyway we probably will get for them because they're two iconic characters. So let's start with the emotes and more specifically Anakin. This is where the fun begins. It's a meme, but it would be really cool to see as an emote in the game, I think. It just would be really cool. Nothing too serious, but a nice one to have. You underestimate my power would be a good one, but I feel like it's potentially not quite Jedi enough. It's when he's Darth Vader at that point, so would it work? I don't know. My powers have doubled since the last time we met. If you remove the word count at the end of that, it would work really well, I think. It would suit Anakin's personality and would be a nice one to have on the battlefield. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating and it gets everywhere. It's a meme, but it would be funny to have, right? It would just be a long one that you could have for the battlefield. It would work on places like Tatooine or Jakku, but it could also be just a generic voice line that happens when you're on those maps, for example. If it had to be replaced, I think if you're not with me, then you're my enemy is a little bit more dark side like, but it would work. I think it might just work if they took the tone of Darth Vader out of it, because it's quite an iconic quote from Anakin. As for Dooku's emotes, he's got some really cool quotes, such as, good, twice the pride, double the fall. Even if you cut off the good, it would still work very well. Now, this next quote is quite a long one, but I feel like it could work. It is obvious that this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber. I just think this is definitely one that would be fantastic to use. The next one would be, I have become more powerful than any Jedi, even you. You could remove the even you part because then it would be less specific towards the Jedi and would work in more situations on the battlefront if you were using this emote. And another emote could be brave but foolish, my old Jedi friend. You are impossibly outnumbered. Now again, another specific emote, but if you use this in Heroes vs Villains, it would be fantastic up against Yoda. And if any of those four did not make it, I hope you have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them is the quote to replace one of those, because that is a really cool quote that would go really well against Anakin. Now let's take a look at victory poses. Starting with Anakin, we have this really reserved Jedi look from Anakin here, holding his lightsaber close to him in not an offensive position, but in a ready for battle position. I think this is a very good stance and it's quite an iconic one too. Another victory pose could be this one. He'll be on an angle, it'll look different to the others, and he's a bit more Anakin-like in this one. He's much more prepared for battle at this point. For this third one, it has to be in the game because it's a stance that Anakin uses a lot and is one that a lot of people would think of Anakin if you said, what does Anakin sort of stand like? Well, this is one he does often, and you know, he's out there deflecting blaster shots or doing other stuff. It just would be a really cool thing to see. The fourth one could be a bit more offensive, you know. After all, Anakin's fighting style is much more offensive than most Jedi's. It's out to kill and defeat enemies. It's very powerful and uses momentum. So I think this one would look really cool for a victory pose. You could also have something like this if one of the others did get cut, for example. It's again showing off his stances. Now let's take a look at Count Dooku's. I think this one would work very, very well because he's a bit unsure, he's got quite the expression on the face, and he's just showing off that lightsaber up and close. It just would look really, really cool. Then the second one is similar in a few ways, but it shows a bit of width here, showing off his lightsaber and his other hand rather than being it's more further out rather than being up close. The third one just has to happen. He's using that Force Lightning that we saw in Attack of the Clones. You know, his lightsaber in one hand, Force Lightning in the other. It would just work so well and it would be really unique for the game. And this fourth pose is very similar to the second pose, but it's more wider, it's on an angle, he's pulling a different face and shows a lot more width and size of his character. I think this would be a really nice one to have and one of my favourites in the game. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and let me know down below what emotes and victory poses you'd like to see for these characters. I'm sure a lot of you will agree with some of them because they're really iconic looks and voice lines that they definitely should be in the game. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content like this. Remember to turn that notification bell on, and if you missed any of the 2 previous videos on screen, go check them out, and I shall see you all in my next Star Wars Battlefront 2 video. Goodbye.